Hope I'm doing this right. Anyone out there? What the heck was that sound? Can you see and hear okay? Hope I'm doing this right. Anyone out there? Well, thanks for stopping by, Nick. Have a good night at work. I'm getting some crazy latency on my side, of course. So I just paused that. So sorry. Thanks for bearing with me a second here while I try to figure out all this new crazy technology. Why, thank you. My wife picked me up some new Hawaiian-esque shirts for the season. Thought I'd bust one out. Yeah, I don't know. There's some weird latency coming through YouTube, but the Google Hangout seems to be on time. Hey, guys, what's up? Welcome. I'm trying to figure this all out. I just call them Hawaiian shirts, I guess. If I could wear this to work, that'd be pretty sweet, though. So, anyway, for tonight, I don't have any plans to talk about anything. This is the first time, so you can ask questions, talk about what's new out there that looks awesome, like that new Dark Crystal trailer. That looks so kick ass. I cannot wait for that to come out on August 30th. Man, Dark Crystal. Love that movie. Excuse me. And just the fact they're bringing it back with the same technology, puppets, and everything, that blows my mind. Sorry, I don't mean to be repping McDonald's, but had to get a soda for the occasion. Yeah, coming to Netflix. It's called Dark Crystal. What's the tagline? Dark Resistance. It's a prequel. It talks about like the war with the Gelflings and the Skeksis and all. Yeah, I mean, it still has a lot of the characters from the original movie. Hello, action figure expert. Welcome. We're just talking about Dark Crystal, the new prequel show for Netflix. Yeah, I'm not sure the timeline. I know that there's different books and comics out that kind of go over thousands of years of history of the planet and the Skeksis and the Elders or whatever they're called and the Gelflings. So, I mean, from what the trailer shows, it looks like the Gelflings are going to war. It shows them in armor and everything. So it looks pretty tight. And I mean, I love fantasy movies like Lord of the Rings and stuff, but there's just something about Dark Crystal and now this that, I mean, there's no human element at all in it. It's all the puppets and large puppeteering rigs and monsters. I mean, that takes so much imagination. I mean, Jim Henson was a genius for creating that with Brian Frood. And I mean, I haven't kept up on who exactly in the Henson family is working on this and who else is contributing, but it looks perfect. I hate to get super excited for it, but I can't help myself. I got that as well, and I actually got hit a few times because I used to wear an ElfQuest t-shirt with Cutter on it when I was in middle school. And yeah, a lot of people were like, "Oh, look, you got pointed ears, and so's the dude on your shirt. You suck. Ha ha ha." Yeah, I got called an elf my whole life, but they were too plebeian to know what gelflings were. I have to say, when I ran out to McDonald's to get my soda, the school just wrapped up for the season around here, and it's like Mad Max out there. You can smell fires burning in the distance, kids hanging out of cars, shouting and chasing you down. It's crazy out there. Glad to be behind closed doors right now. Yeah, looking like Link would be awesome. But yeah, I used to love ElfQuest comics. And yeah, I got bullied a lot for that. And the people that did know comics, the few and far between back then, of course, thought it was a girl's comic. So they even dissed me. I was getting it from all sides. Not a cool time. Oh, as long as they do better than the sequels and the cartoon that HBO did on the never ending story. The first one had so much promise. I mean, to me, the story was but those supporting characters made it for me. The Rock Eater, that dude that rode the bat, and that dude that rode the snail. I would see a movie just of those dudes. Forget Atreyu and Sebastian and them and the stupid Luck Dragon. Give me a movie with them three, especially a dude that rode the bat. Yeah, I'd be there. Yeah, the Nothing was awesome. Yeah, the cartoon I don't think lasted that long, and I think it was even foreign. Maybe that's why HBO picked it up. But I think that came a little bit after, I don't know, maybe the second movie. I don't know. Of course, the second movie gets a lot of play nowadays because it had Jack Black in it. Or was that the third movie? Either or. He played one of the bullies in it. Okay, I'll step back. Falcor was cool, but there's just something about how they did his scales that always creeped me out. He looked more like a dog with mange or a skin disease than it looked like scales because they looked more bumpy. And because of their iridescence, they looked like they probably had some kind of fluid or pus in it. That was just how my kid brain interpreted it. And I wasn't down. I wouldn't be riding him. I'd be taking him to the vet. Or I'd be riding them to the vet, just with putting a blanket over them or something. He may have smelled terrible, but he got that air cleanness from flying in the clouds and stuff. So maybe he smelled like, yeah, he probably smelled terrible. Never mind. Yeah, but does anyone else have Netflix out there? Has anyone caught the Rim of the World movie? So I'd love to hear some other people's thoughts on it, or if I was missing the mark on what I thought about it. Because I'm usually very forgiving about movies, but there's just something about it that didn't sit well with me. Uh, Maybe I'll save that discussion for another day for everyone to catch up on it. I think it just came out like a week ago, but in a nutshell, just to describe it, it would be a splendid made for Nickelodeon movie if it didn't have so much cussing or sexual innuendo in it. But it's to the caliber of a made for Nicktoons movie. It's about these kids at a summer camp that an alien invasion happens, which happens right off the bat. There's no build up to it. And yeah, I was just kind of disappointed. Someone recommended it to me and said, "Oh, it's just like Stranger Things." So, unfortunately, when you're sitting down with that in the back of your mind, uh, I don't know. I don't know if I would have gone into it blind, if I would have enjoyed it more, but I don't know. I just don't enjoy seeing 12-year-olds cussing and just for the sake of it. But maybe that's who the movie's made for, 12-year-olds to, watch this summer and giggle to each other. And I'm just too old and fuddy-duddy nowadays. Yeah, alien invasion, which you see a couple ships and only one alien throughout the whole thing, pretty much. And I think there were better special effects in Hercules and Xena. Don't mind me. I'm getting my coffee fill. Keeps me going all weekend. So I'm sorry if this is boring. Maybe I should have came up with a topic. Maybe I will for next month. But I just thought it would be fun to meet everybody, answer some questions. What's everyone doing for their summer vacation? Yeah, I do not sleep on the weekends. It's either filming, editing at night, and all the fun parental things during the day. I kind of expected that question to come up eventually. Um, Honestly, I just think our directions in life started going in two separate ways. I know for me, my responsibilities around the house kind of took over when we would film. It would be, "Hey, Walter, what's up, man?" When we would film, it would be he would come over and we would sit down and film 3-4 hours at a time. And then I would quickly try to edit one of those episodes to have it up for the following week. And that would mean pretty much one whole night I wasn't able to do my chores around the house. Um, I was hurrying the kids off to bed and not letting them really enjoy their weekend. So I know for me, just my priorities around the house kind of took over. And I mean, the invitation's always there. If he wants to show up to do some more episodes, I'm down with it. But we'll see what happens. How you doing tonight, Walter? Go ahead, hit me with any one of them there, Slim. When I branched out on my own with D&D. Yeah, it was my parents' friends, but I didn't know what I was looking at the time. Like they had all the D&D toys and some miniatures and stuff in their little library at their house, but um it was probably in 5th grade or middle school when I stumbled upon it for the first time, but I didn't really start hardcore playing until I was a freshman in high school. Um I think before that, me and a couple buddies would just read the books and more be and more LARP it. Like, look, I'm a wizard and run around in the woods, or look, I'm a warrior, and we would have fake swords and stuff and beat up trees. But yeah, it wasn't until I was a freshman in high school that I really started playing hardcore, and I stopped maybe, I don't know, maybe, wow, about 10 years ago. So it's been about 10 years since I played. So that whole gap there, or that whole from freshman in high school to about 10 years ago, I played every weekend. Snake Eyes movie, um, I'm a little excited. I'd like to see how they're going to do it. But with the past GI Joe movies, I'm a little bit, yeah, a little bit leery of it. Was Dorf always my race of choice? Actually, I started with playing Drow because I read The Crystal Shard by R.A. Salvador first. So Drizzt, however people pronounce it, was my dude. So I always played Drow at first. But yeah, it quickly turned into I played Dwarf for most things. A couple elves here and there. Maybe a human once or twice. But I would always try to get away with playing weird things. Like someone was playing a Ravenloft game and we were able to play monstrous races. So I wanted to play Mind Flayer Sionis. And that was when in second edition they came out with those fake leather bound uh, class books, and I got the psionics one. And I didn't read the rules. No one else really read the rules. So I was just like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And I turned the game into a total bloodbath. But hey, we were playing villains in Ravenloft. What do you expect? I wouldn't recommend playing a human. They are pretty lame. But I wanted to play something different. I don't know why I'm getting a frog in the throat. So what's the next question? Yeah, it took me a while to actually find people to play with. That's why it took until my freshman year of high school when they had a strategic gaming club that I was introduced to. And sadly, there was like a hierarchy in there of like the seniors and stuff that looked down on everyone else. So I guess in my experience, there's always been this dork on dork violence like you see online nowadays. When it came to gaming, I ran right into a brick wall with it, especially with those type of groups. And then it broke down into like in later years, oh, we only play vampire, look down at people that play D&D or anything else. Yeah, it's so weird how I mean, I how to say it. I like anything unconventional. I love anthropomorphic animals. Does that mean I'm a furry? No. I love Star Wars. Does that mean that's exclusive and I hate other space opera? No. I love it all, and that's just how I grew up. And it's so weird that you have people nowadays, and even growing up, that they like one thing and that's it. And anything outside of that, they look down at you up for. It's crazy. What's one RPG you've never played that you most wanted to? Even stuff without an RPG based on it. Um, hmm. If we're getting oh, if I could wish for one game that they never made a role playing game of, I think the it would be like a trifecta universe of Thundercat, Silverhawk, Tiger Sharks, which were all made by the same company. Um, a world inhabited by all those, especially Third Earth, a role playing game would be awesome. But see, then when I start thinking about that, a Thundar role playing game would have been awesome because there was so much imagination to that of especially that cartoon where you had the fall of California and just the setting of like movie props and stuff mixed into real life debris that made it so surreal, and how the characters of that world would worship like a King Kong animatronic and stuff because in their mind okay, there's something from real life Earth, and here's something from a movie, but they're intermingled. So they don't know what the history is, and they've created their own, which I think is awesome. As far as a real game that I never got to play, hmm, I really don't know. There's a lot of games I've only played once or twice that I wish I would have played more, like Warhammer, but that was a very financially stressed game because you had to get all the miniatures and stuff. Yeah, Warhammer was very cool. The books were very expensive, so I would save up money, get the books, not have money for the miniatures. And then by the time you start getting miniatures, the rest of the gaming group had gone on to other stuff, and I never got to play really, but here or there. So I guess those are the two. But yeah, now I'm thinking about a Thundar game. That would be awesome. Definitely. Sword and sorcery and machines and what was the one with the awesome looking armored guys in huge armor? What do you mean, Slim? From Thundar, or do you mean another cartoon at that time period? An RPG, armored guys. Battletech? Because that was another one where you could get the miniatures if you needed to, but I think the game is oversized armor, almost bug like. Oh, wow. I'm drawing a blank on what that could be. I mean, that could be Warhammer, where you had the Space Marines and the armor. Yes, and Space Hawk had the Gene Stealers. They were the aliens that they fought. But that all falls under the Warhammer 40K. Exo Squad. That was a great cartoon. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I think it might be Space Hawk Warhammer 40K that you're thinking about, Slim. Which the Space Hawk was almost like a board game version, came in a huge box and had the miniatures you needed, and didn't really have as much role playing elements to it. They also did that with, I think it was Games Workshop did Heroescape. That's kind of the same thing. Excuse me. Yes, that's exactly it, Slim. Which I love the 40K setting. The Space Marines were really awesome when you looked at how they were genetically altered to be Marines. Like they had computers implanted in their head that they could understand all alien languages when they landed, and this really weird processor that was like within their stomach that, and this is nasty, they would resort to almost like a cannibalism, that they would eat the flesh of people that the planets they landed on, and then this processor would gather the biological information about the species and stuff. Really messed up, really dark British sci-fi. No, no, no apologies. I can handle many pieces of technology all at once. I'm like a hip teen. Maybe I'll throw something up on Facebook at the exact same time. Whoa. No, Facebook's a burning trash heap. Yeah, and there's just something about, especially the British side of things with 80s sci-fi, that art, that really heavily lined, detailed art. Like when I see that, it just automatically nostalgic to me. Yeah. We come in peace. Let us eat one of you, please. So we talked about Dark Crystal, the Snake Eyes movie. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what they'll do. I hope they do it right, and I hope they focus on his background a little bit. And you can't have a Snake Eyes movie without Storm Shadow, so I hope they include him as well. Uh, Next question from Slim. Yes, Death's Head was awesome. Um, I love the design of the original, kind of goofy, and then when they did Death's Head 2 and made it extreme, it still was really cool and it held up. And I loved how they incorporated other Marvel characters into it, even on a one-shot nature because it was Marvel UK. But as far as in the 80s Marvel UK, I was all about Captain Britain comics. Still some of the best. I have a bunch of collecteds, and I remember one of the first times I went to a comic book store, which was kind of late in my budding collecting. But the thing that I found that I just dropped all my money on were the Captain Britain comics from the UK, the oversized black and white comics. Still have those. They're like very special to me. Yeah, it did. I mean, in the 70s and 80s, it kind of went at its own speed, but in the 90s, it tried to make a very big push. And yes, it did crash and burn quick. Yes, I love how they connected G.I. Joe, Transformers, Doctor Who, and the Marvel Universe all together. I mean, but Marvel did that when they introduced the Transformers. I mean, Spider Man was in it. Um, he wasn't a jerk the whole time in Excalibur, but yeah, But the dude been through a lot if you start at the beginning of his timeline through the UK comics to when Excalibur was founded. So I guess that kind of gives him a pass. But I mean, they made Megan be so innocent that when he was a jerk to her, it just made it all the more worse. And then you had Nightcrawler come in and be like chivalrous towards her, where you're like, should they be together? Looking at the soap opera of it all. Yeah, unfortunately, where I live, we have two comic book stores. One just opened and I haven't checked it out yet. And one that when I went in there and asked for some back issues of Joe Comics, they actually made fun of me and I haven't been back there since because they only sold new stuff and their back issue selection was maybe only 5 years old. Hey, what's up? Welcome. Oh, thank you very much. Now, not to be odd here, but how would you pronounce your name? Is it Adept J28? I mean, do you just go by Ada P? So I want to give you the shout out, but I don't want to butcher your name, which I already did. Well, that goes back to our dorks being nasty to each other discussion. But I mean, I guess I look like a square parent too, walking into some of these places with all the cool hip dorks. And yes, that upset me too when he broke his leg. But it always upset me like when he would backhand Megan and stuff too. Yeah, we have some real flaky shops here, like the one vintage toy store we have here, which looks like it probably adapt works for me. Welcome to the stream and thank you so much for all the great things you said. But this toy store in my area has it looks to have great selection if you want to dig. But the one time I was in the dude's shop, it was for my last birthday, and my wife was like, get anything you want. I was so super excited. I had a wish list of stuff I wanted to get, told the guy what I wanted. He gave up after digging through stuff and then started saying that he goes to conventions more, makes more money there, doesn't worry about his shop too much. It's just a holding site and to hit him up on Facebook. I never hit him up on Facebook because to me, that's not how I wanted to shop. I was excited for the hunt, and this dude's place was just piles of trash and wrestling figures. Nothing against wrestling. I love wrestling. But it was just, I mean, the one time I was there, he had a large display of the like somewhat posable little Care Bear things. And I wanted the Grumpy Bear. It's just something I always wanted as a kid. I go in there. Oh, I got mad at my mom who was running the store for me while I was at a con. So I just threw them all in a box. I don't know where they're at. That pissed me off. Hey, last time I was in here, which was one other time, you had a whole thing of He-Man figures. Where are they? Oh, they're in there somewhere. Let me look for them. 10 minutes later, oh, just hit me up on Facebook. Nah, that ain't cool. And that angers me that someone would run their shop like that. No, no, no. It's it's not dumb. I mean, my PSN ID is Targo76. That's a name I've had since my World of Warcraft days. Yeah. Also, this guy, just by happenstance back in the day on eBay, before, this was years and years and years ago, I ordered a Zartan Complete and ordered it, paid for it, never got it. Looked up the guy's info. Of course, he lives in the town I live in now, which was only half an hour from where I used to live. And I'm like, dude, I'll drive to your house to get it. I'm still looking for it. I'll send it to you. I eventually got it, but if I would have known back then who it was, yeah, I should have known his store was just as unorganized. Yeah, it's unfortunate because way back in the day, I actually had a business plan together to open up a vintage toy store and went to the like county commissioners where I was because they were giving out grants for small businesses and they actually said I could do it, but I couldn't work another job at the time. That would have to be my job setting the store up. And I couldn't financially do that. So I had to drop out, unfortunately. So when stuff like that happens, I just shake my head because the store I had in my mind would have been well kept, immaculate, so on and so forth. So when I see stuff like that, it really ticks me off. Video and sound still holding up because as you've seen in my latest videos, my mic like starts petering out halfway through and getting all fuzzy, and I don't understand why. I just need to bite the bullet and get a new camera and mic soon. Like Spawn boards, like the Spawn comic book. Not to sound totally dumb. I have a coffee and I have a soda. All caffeine. One warms me up, one cools me down. Ah, Spawn had some great toys. I mean, McFarlane is still doing great. I think I last saw, what are they, Overwatch figures he's doing? Those look incredible. I've never played the game, but the characters are very well designed. And the toys just look, I mean, they're breathtaking. Expensive as all get out, even for a place like Walmart, but very nice. Well, I'll need to end this eventually, but yes, I usually dork it until dawn every weekend. I get pretty much zero sleep between filming, editing, and all my husbandly family duties around the house of doing laundry, which I'll have to start eventually, and cleaning up the kids, wrecking the house, and all that good stuff. And I filled up a carafe, so I got plenty of coffee. I just got word that our friends over at Monster Magazine are watching. Hey guys, how y'all doing? I know you can't comment watching on the TV, but I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of the recent Spawn figures, and yes, McFarlane made some great sports figures. I'm not a sports guy, but whatever technology they use to do the face scans and stuff is top notch. I kind of wish that Hasbro would have done a little bit better with some of their like Star Wars figures where it came with face scans. But they're already expensive. I couldn't imagine how much more they'd want to charge if they started using that technology. And that's something. What happened to the state of toys? I mean, even before Toys R Us was gone, they were always expensive, but the fact that you can't even get a 3 and 3/4 inch Star Wars figure for less than $8, and that's on clearance. I mean, they start at 10. I mean, that's insane. No wonder kids aren't buying toys because for that $10, well, heck, I could save a couple and just get a video game. I mean, a lot of people say, well, the new Star Wars movies suck and that's why no one's buying the toys. No, the fact toys are expensive. I mean, the Black Series, I don't even have any of those because they're so expensive. I mean, the only toys, in my opinion, right now sitting on Walmart shelves that are worth the money are Transformer figures. Because for $10, you can get a medium sized Transformer and you get a figure and a vehicle out of it. Favorite soda flavor? Dr. Pepper. Any plans to see Godzilla this weekend? Not this weekend, but I definitely want to see it. It looks awesome. And hearing that people have a complaint that there's not a lot of human interaction in it makes it sound even better to me. I can't believe someone would say the movie's not good because there's not enough humans in it. That's the lamest review I've ever read. True. Plastics and rubbers have gone up in price. Yes, I will agree with that. I will say one cool thing. I was watching some of the live streams from Galaxy's Edge in California today, and they were showing some of the vendor shops. And one of them makes it look like toys from the Star Wars universe. And they look like these little whittled figures, like a Boba Fett, C3PO, and stuff. That looked awesome. They're probably made out of plastic, but wouldn't it be cool to have some cool retro lines made out of wood or something? That would just be interesting. Uh, Hi, Dustin. Yes, I have a couple of the NECA figures. I have the only two that I have right now are Godzilla vs. Kong Godzilla and the Gizmo. And I have plans on getting the Gremlin very soon. Yes. Some of the Transformer reissues, especially like the Titan class and stuff, like they have it's a kind of neat interpretation of Shockwave, but he's $50. So I'm not getting anywhere near that. If I'm going to pay 50 for a new figure, I might as well just try to hunt one of the retro ones. Yes, and the NECA figures are very expensive, but for some reason I find those to be worth it with all the little knickknacks and interchangeable heads and stuff it comes with. Plus, the picture box by itself is a great display piece. Yes, and not enough human drama in a giant monster movie. I guess these aren't people that grew up watching Godzilla or kaiju movies where they actually do care about the story, but heck, I mean, yes, this is probably a big foul on me, but when I go back and rewatch a lot of the old Godzillas and stuff, I just fast forward to the monster fights. I don't care about any of that crap. I just want to get to the fight, and be very happy. That's one of the reasons why I have to say um, Final Wars is probably one of my favorites because that's just a continual fight with Godzilla versus every monster in the roster throughout the entire movie. And plus the fact that he kills the American Godzilla in it is awesome. Yes, those Predator figures are very awesome. Ooh, the Shin Godzilla. I don't think I've seen that one from NECA. And the Jason figures are very nice. And I also like that for the NECA with their monster movie figures that they released both its. You have the Tim Curry Pennywise and you have the new Pennywise. I think that's pretty tight that they went back and made both of them. Yes. Speaking of kaiju movies, has anyone ever seen Kaiju Big Battle? It's professional wrestling where they dress in kaiju suits, and in the ring they actually have cardboard buildings and cars and stuff. So when they're body slamming each other, they're going through the buildings. Yes, Dr. Cube actually made fun of that DJ Marshmello, saying he was the illegitimate son of Dr. Cube. Yeah, they used to show it on the hub. It was great. They would have matches in between GI Joe and Transformer episodes. And I remember picking up some DVDs and stuff of theirs around that time. They're still going strong, which is great. And I think they actually do shows all over the world now. I think they're doing some in Japan last I saw. Of course, WrestleMania weekend, I think they're actually doing stuff where they're wrestling out on the streets and stuff. It looked pretty cool. Oh, really? I have to check that out if it ran on Comedy Central. Oh, and also, I follow the Kaiju Big Battle on Twitter, and they have a lot of oh, what do you call them? Shoot, the why is the word escaping me? Crowdfunding that they're making Kaiju Big Battle toys, and right now they're actually making muscle figures of the characters, which I think is awesome. Hey Vance, what do you mean about use the tuna eater? Did I miss a part earlier in that conversation? Excuse me while I top off my coffee, warm it up a bit. Oh, okay. I gets it. Thank you, Slim. Yes, but I actually have stumbled upon some spoilers from the new Godzilla, and if it's what they say it's going to be, we're we're on the start of a great franchise. I'll just leave it at that. That we're going to see some really good stuff in the future if they keep up with it. No, unfortunately, he doesn't at the moment. If Chris ever wants to come back, he's more than welcome. I just think our priorities in life have just kind of diverged, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I just know for me that when we would film, it would be an entire night, 4 or 5 hours of sitting there and filming to get a couple weeks worth of episodes. And, I wasn't able to get anything really done around the house. And, after doing all that filming, I'd have to run over to the super PC over here and do all my editing and everything to try to get one out for the following week. And that was killing me. So I think, I mean, hopefully it's just a break and one day he'll be back, at least, to do a couple here and there. But it's been a great learning experience doing this all on my own, coming up with the episodes and everything, and carrying this. I mean, because when I started years ago, it was just me on a blog doing it. And I wanted to do this live because once you get to certain topics, I just couldn't find the right words to write it, or I don't think my word, the written word was getting across the either the emotion I wanted to or the reflection of my thoughts. So I wanted to do it live, but I was just kind of scared to do it by myself. So he kind of volunteered to help me out to have someone to bounce dialogue off of. So uh, I've been having a blast doing it by myself. It's been a whole different animal, but it's been fun. I've been enjoying it. But if, he ever wants to come back and do a couple, I'm cool with that too. Yes, I hope Toho doesn't pull the license either because I think that at least for an American version of Godzilla, we're on the right track. I mean, I can't wait to see the new movie and then I'll be the judge of it. But the last one really wasn't that bad. A little bit too much human story for me, but Godzilla was pretty cool. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying you like me. Yes, Frag, when it comes to, say, a 15-minute video, I film for probably a half an hour. I trip on my words a lot because I don't really prepare anything. When I do my lists, I just write out what they're going to be and I just shoot from the hip because that's just how I like talking. And as I start a dialogue up, I'll start remembering things, and that's kind of what I wanted the channel to be, just nostalgia of, I'm remembering these things and hopefully everyone else remembers them too. And, we can have discussion and just enjoy reliving our childhood years. So I trip over my lines a lot with that. So yes, I have to whittle it down. So that takes up editing time, and just when I drop in the pictures and music and stuff like that, that ends up taking time. But you know what? I love every second of it. It's fun. It's my midlife crisis hobby, if you will. Oh, good. That's good that Toho likes this version. One thing I've been really into anime recently. One of the things I love about Hulu is you have this deep library of anime. So I'm able to catch up on new stuff, old stuff that I missed. And it's really cool to see Toho's name on a lot of it. So they have their hands in a lot of great things. And that's awesome to see. Oh, sorry, Vance. I was a little slow on that one. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate honest questions. I mean, I'm a very open person. I don't mind answering anything. I don't mind talking about anything. Yeah, I would be hesitant too, Gaz, over what they did to the 90s Godzilla movie. The only thing good about that movie was half of the soundtrack was great. I mean, even there was even a good Puff Daddy song on it. You can't go wrong with that. Granted, he sampled Zeppelin, so right there, that's half of the greatness. How often do I shave my chest? Never. Maybe I should. It would be like that scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin, I'm sure. Yeah, that's very true, Frag. That if they didn't shackle it with the Godzilla moniker and just made a brand new American kaiju movie, that would have been cool. Now, do you mean the Godzilla cartoon that aired on, what was it, Fox Kids or CW or WB Kids at the time? Because that was really good, actually. Yeah, I was very excited to see that movie too. I didn't walk out, but I mean, even leading up to it, I'm like, it's got Ferris Bueller. How bad could it be? But yeah, I mean, if they would have just presented it as, hey, here's a brand new monster and a brand new story, it probably wouldn't have been bad. Yes, the Fox Kids Godzilla cartoon wasn't bad. I remember watching that as well. And if the movie was just a tenth of how cool that cartoon was, it would have been better. Oh, I can start a collection, Vance. I can start bagging it up. But that's pretty much the only definition this body has are the folds where the hair is, makes it look like I have a six pack. So I'd just be kind of hurting myself shaving it off. Well, here's the question with Godzilla. We know the next movie is going to be Kong versus Godzilla. How many people here were fans of Kong Skull Island? Oh, Pacific Rim was awesome. I know someone that openly hated it, and I don't understand why. Me and my wife went to go see that, and at that time, it was one of the best movie experiences I had in a very long time. I never saw the second one, so I can't comment on that. Me what, Slim? Are you saying you hate it? Oh, you love Skull Island. But here's the question. Do we really want to see Kong and Godzilla fight? Or do you think it'll be like a superhero movie where they'll start off fighting and then fight against a common foe? I hope that's what it is because Kong was awesome, but given him versus Godzilla, I like Godzilla more with the whole mythos. So I don't know who I would want to win, but I want them to be friends. I mean, I don't want them fighting. Oh, you need to see Pacific Rim, Vance? It's a good movie. Again, I can't comment on the sequel, but the first one was very solid. Now that would be awesome to see them fight Mechagodzilla. If only we get some of those cool Godzilla attacks from the old movies, like the flying drop kicks and stuff. That's what I want to see. Now that would be a movie I would love to see. Kong and Godzilla sitting back drinking some berry juice cocktails on a beach, chilling out. One of the things about Pacific Rim that made it very cool for me, we saw it in D box, which are the movable seats. So every time the mechs would move, the seat would go back and forth like their feet stomping. So when they'd start running, it would rock quicker. So it actually made you feel like you were in the mech, which was awesome. Yeah, I would like to see him taunt like Bruce Lee too. That would be cool. Or grab a bullet train and use it like nunchucks. That would be awesome. A Shogun Warriors flick. Shogun Warriors is really due for a comeback. Actually, I have a few of those in the boxes, but I have them put away because they're quite expensive. Yes, Bruce Lee is a legend. The one with Benicio del Toro, that Wolfman, yeah, that was very cool. I thought the effects on him were really nice. Still want that Shogun Warriors Godzilla. That's still one of the toys that just slipped between my fingers because my mom was, yeah, and wouldn't get it for me at a Goodwill of all places when I was real little. I'm still sore about that. Yes, that was an awesome part of the movie too, seeing them fight. That would be cool. Now, Mecha Kong, that's something you don't see that often. Or even the kaiju version of Frankenstein. We haven't seen that in a long time. Godzilla vs. Wolfman. That is what the Rampage movie should have been. No, we got flying wolves and giant Gila monsters or whatever the crap it was. Oh, sorry about that, Frag. That's yeah. The garage sale, yeah. And the sad thing is when I was little, I would get suckered into, oh, sell this big stuff. You don't need it anymore. And you get to keep the money. I never did get to keep the money. And if I did, they sold it for like 50 cents. So I'd have 50 cents. What am I supposed to do with that? Godzilla versus Bambi. Now that's a throwback. That that's probably one of the very first twisted animations that I can remember seeing. Yes, Godzilla did fight Wolfman, kinda. All the all those kaiju movies, there were so many like crossovers and like bootleg kind of movies that a Godzilla type creature pretty much fought everything at one time or another. Ronin Warriors, that was kind of cool cartoon. And their toys were really nice too, from what I remember. Yeah, that's one of the sad things about the 90s, that they were trying so hard to capture the magic of 80s toys that a lot of toy lines didn't get a fair shake. Like Pirates of Dark Water for one thing. That was a great cartoon. They had very limited toys, but they could have went a lot further with the cartoon and the toys, but again, it didn't capture that magic, that lightning in a bottle that they were looking for from the 80s. So it's like, quick, scuttle it and make something else. True. That's very true. Adapt that we could have gotten slime back in the day. I remember that was such a big thing. And then when they had glow in the dark slime, stop the presses, man. That was everything. Frankenstein versus the world. Yes. Biker Mice from Mars. I remember it, but I don't think I ever watched it that much. Definitely remember it though. Okay. Thanks, Vance. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Now, here's a question for you guys watching. Next month when I do this, should I come at you with a topic that we discuss, or should it just be this? Should it just be sitting back, discussing just what pops up conversationally and going from there? Now, the bike from Akira, one of the best bikes ever, ever in any medium. A Mask reboot. I thought we were going to get one, especially when we saw Matt Tracker pop up in the G.I. Joe 25th line, which was awesome because he had the backpack helicopter. And then, was it last year or the year before, they released like a giant Hasbro box set that even had like ROM stuff in it, Micronaut stuff, and GI Joe stuff, and there was the new Matt Tracker in there from the comics, and I thought that would be perfect for a reboot, but we haven't seen anything out of them recently. Biker mice from Mars were like Ninja Turtles, but they could hit people and blow stuff up. Good times. That does sound like a good time. Almond Joy is tropical. That is one of my favorite candy bars of all time. In your experience, topics fly out of the window pretty easy in a stream. Okay, thanks, Frag. I haven't really part partaken in many live streams other than video game ones, which that's what you're there for, to watch the video game and not a lot of talking. Now, let's be honest, Street Hawk was a pretty typical bike, but the computer systems to it and the awesome POV shots of turbo speed were what made it cool. Man, I love Street Hawk. I would rush if we were out grocery shopping or something. I would make my parents drop everything and come home to watch that. And then one day it's just gone. You know, that's the sad fact that a lot of us lived through in the 80s, where we would get enamored in these shows and hang on every second of it. And then we go to tune in the next week and it's just gone. Yes, I agree. I thought they were going to reboot it. And if they would have rebooted it in G.I. Joe size, like when they did the 25th anniversary Matt Tracker, it would have been expensive, but oh so cool. Yes, Batman. That would have been really awesome to get them in Joe size, but the price probably would have been crazy. Yeah, and where are we with Thundercats Roar? Is this another thing where the fans won out, that we complained so much that Cartoon Network has just dropped it? I mean, I remember seeing the trailer, and if I'm not mistaken, Cartoon Network has even blocked the trailer from being online. Yes, theme songs are something that truly are missing nowadays in shows. I mean, people like um Mike Post that did like a lot of the great ones like Magnum PI, A Team, Riptide even. Great. I mean, those I still listen to the soundtracks of because they're just timeless great pieces. The Jan or Jan or whatever Jan Hammer stuff from like Miami Vice, I can just put that soundtrack on and just listen to the whole thing and just be in bliss. Yeah, who knows where things are going with GI Joe? I don't know if it's the political nature of the world, of the military ness of GI Joe, that is scaring people off from pursuing it. I don't know, but I would love to see GI Joe make a comeback. I mean, some of the later cartoons were hit or miss, but some of them were really good too. Like the Resolute. miniseries. That was awesome. It was a great adult version of G.I. Joe, and they could have gone with that a lot further. Hardball. Hardball. I'm going to go out on a limb. Was that a baseball show? And yes, Frag, that G.I. Joe cartoon where they were running from the government, that was kind of eh. Yes, Greatest American Hero, one of the best theme songs. That was a great show. That was another one I loved watching. I mean, yes, terrorism isn't a great topic, Batman, but if they made it more fantasyful, more sci-fi, they could get away with it. I mean, even if they did a G.I. Joe 2099, that might be interesting. I mean, when they did the Phantom 2099 or whatever it was called, that was a cool interpretation of that character. So, I mean, if you think outside the box, we could definitely get a very cool G.I. Joe cartoon. Oh, well, Slim, I definitely don't remember that show. I remember the show Sidekicks with Gil Gerard and what was his name? June Reeves or whatever. He wore a badge t-shirt like Superman. I definitely gotta look that up. Yes, the bad guy from 3 O'Clock High. Love that movie. And yes, Hardball is a G.I. Joe. My opinion on modern import figures. Um, some of them are very well done and really worth the price. Some of them they still charge a lot of money for and are worse than things you can just buy on the shelves now in America. Some of like the very like the die cast figures with the die cast joints and everything, some of the robot figures, like Robotech and stuff, those are very nice and those are definitely worth the price. I have some uh, robot figures up here of them that I'll show, excuse me, in an episode of It Came From My Side of the Laundry Room one day. And I love them. They're some of the best made figures I've ever seen. Yes, they definitely can get pricey. So you need to be very choosy which ones you get, in my opinion. Some of the Star Wars fig arts that they came out with like Boba Fett and stuff, I definitely want those, but those had a very small window of a realistic price to a very expensive price. That's the thing. That's the problem I have, that I don't have my finger on the pulse of toys as much as I should, with new stuff. I mean, I love reading about older stuff and follow a lot of stuff with the vintage and retro figures. But with new stuff, it's like I'll hear about something coming out, I'll get online, and I missed that window, and it's like quadrupled in price by the time I discover it. The only time I feel like I have my finger on the pulse to a degree is with Transformer figures because I get those from my son. So I do investigate those, and by proxy, I'm getting them for myself because I play with them with him. So, hey Ricky, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Now, Gaz, that would be something I would love to see. G.I. Joe on Netflix. Now, live action, I don't know. I would love to see a 2D animated. I mean, some of the computer animated stuff coming out of Netflix is very questionable, but some of their 2D stuff looks really good. Now that Netflix is losing the Marvel heroes, what other non Marvel heroes would you like to see get a net show? Now, there's the whole thing of the Miller or Millar, or however you pronounce his name, universe being picked up by Netflix. And I assume, I mean, they're publishing the comics for him. So I assume eventually we might get shows out of those. And some of those look really sweet. Like, there's one about magicians and stuff that looks really cool. So I'd be interested to see that kind of stuff. But honestly, even though it's a very creator driven comic book company, I would love to see a Dark Horse universe. Um, when I used to run in different systems, either the 80s Marvel RPG or D20 Modern or Palladium, I made a Dark Horse universe where Basin City, which is where Sin City is also in the same world with the BPRD and so on and so forth. Those are things I would love to see a show of, a Sin City show, a BPRD show, um, a Mage, if you remember that comic book, that show. I mean, there's some great untapped resources. I mean, one of my biggest wish lists would be an animated Usagi Yojimbo cartoon, a traditional, serious Usagi Yojimbo cartoon. Batman. I was online the other day on eBay and saw some of those old Dungeons and Dragons figures, and the cartoon came back to me. Great figures. That's another toy line that, I mean, Hasbro owns Dungeons and Dragons. Why aren't they releasing figures? It just seems it just seems like a no-brainer to me. Has anyone seen the D&D car commercial? That's very awesome. Lady Death. I was never really into Lady Death. I mean, she looked great, but I never really read the comics or got into the the mythos of it too much. Frag said the same thing. Yes, that car commercial is awesome. And yes, Netflix is doing the Witcher series, and I'm really looking forward to that. Um, why can't I think of the cat's name right now? The dude that played Superman is playing him. Of course, people on first look with the wig and all freaked out, but we all know that, pre-production and post-production, a lot of things can change. Yes, I've been a huge Usagi fan as well. I stumbled upon him when I was first reading the Turtle comics way in the early 80s, and the Turtles made an appearance in the Usagi comics. That's where I tracked it down and instantly fell in love with the art style and just the story and setting. Love Usagi. Warduke is epic, one of the best action figures from the 80s. It could be a little bit more articulated, but the design, top notch. Yes, a seriously done shadow. show would be awesome. I mean, I don't even hate the '90s movie. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it was what it was at the time, but it still wasn't that bad. And speaking of Usagi, the last Turtles series, the good one, when he made his appearance on there, that was done very well, handled very seriously, and that was great. Yes, Adapt. He is a very underrated character, and I I wish I could meet Stan Sakai one day. I follow him on Twitter, and he just seems like the coolest dude in the world. I mean, from everything from, "Oh, look at this nice fresh sushi I'm eating," to, "Hey, here's just a picture of Usagi I'm drawing for the heck of it." Now, Gaz, speaking of that, like a Defenders of the Universe or Defenders of the Earth, I should say, comic or TV show universe would be awesome. Include all those characters and just like the Defenders, have them team up once to take out Ming and all those dudes. That would be awesome. Yes, I love the Billy Zane Phantom movie too. I have like a handful of the 7-Eleven rings, slam evil. Awesome. Yes, I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's just people looking back at it with 2020 vision or younger people, but they diss the Alec Baldwin version nowadays. And yes, okay, it wasn't that great to today's standards, but at that time, what more could you want in a movie? I mean, comic book movies and things of that ilk, yeah, they weren't the best, but that's what we had. That's what we grew up with. I mean, we were happy just to get it. Oh, that's sad. No one was even talking to Stan. I guess because he's like a non-assuming guy. And yes, Usagi isn't big and flashy. And I mean, I would assume it's got to be the longest running comic by the same person. I mean, I know Dave Sims Cerberus, I think, holds the record, but Usagi's got to be getting close to breaking that. I never saw The Spirit. It's definitely on my list of things to see. Um, I wasn't chased away by the bad reviews. I just haven't had time to watch it. Oh, that's sad that it's goofy. But if it's so bad it's good, at least it's got that going for it. And let's be honest, I mean, the first Sin City was lightning in a bottle. The second one was still good, but not of the caliber of the first one. But I would love to see, oh my gosh, excuse me, a whole series. I mean, they don't even need to follow the comics, but have that same aesthetic with new stories out of Basin City. That would be awesome. Yeah, adapt. I mean, some of the last conventions I went to, people were still falling over themselves to get Rob Liefeld to sign crap. And yes, people like Stan Sakai, who wasn't at this con that I was at, but people of that caliber kind of get left behind for the flashy, I created Deadpool type of guys. And I'm sorry, that's something that does burn me up with Rob Liefeld. that he's cashing in on this "I created Deadpool" thing. I mean, he may have created the look of it and maybe even an outline of it, but there were a lot of people involved in the creation of the New Mutants at that time in X Force. Yet he's the one that just sits there and laps up all the attention for it. Yes, the Rocketeer. Now, I heard talk that with Disney Plus, they're doing a new Rocketeer series where it's his daughter finds the jetpack and helmet and starts to go out to be a superhero. That actually sounds cool to me. If they, of course, keep it to the same caliber, it could be very cool. Yes, Jim Lee, I mean, even for his stature and talent, from what I see, he's a very shy person. And during interviews, he has to be drawling because it takes his mind off of being nervous in an interview. That to me, that's just an endearing quality. And I met Jim Lee once when the Wildstorm Rising tour went out. When, I mean, Wildcats #3 was just hitting the shelves. And I met him. Super nice guy. Um, I met him and Mark Silvestria and I think Jim Valentino. Could that be it? I think it was just those three guys. But of course, with Mark Silvestria, I had to bring my old X-Men for him to sign, because those are some of the best at that time were the Outback adventures that he was doing. The one thing about Leafield, yes, his art has gotten worse, and he actually uses a computer now to do his art and coloring. So you would think that he could actually, use a computer program to make a foot for himself or a hand of the right size. Yeah, that X mutant thing really gets me because it's supposed to be a character that's always been there, but we didn't know existed. What a lame premise. I'm sorry if you're getting a guy that was hot in the 90s to do just the same crap that he did in the 90s. I mean, why bother? Todd McFarlane, I catch a lot of his how to draw tutorials, and he seems like a cool cat, and he seems very laid back. But I guess when you're that successful, there are only two ways to be. You could be a super jerk or just a laid back guy. And I'm glad he took the latter and he's just a laid back dude. Yes, the Vigilante comic. I loved that. I still try to pick those up in the quarter bins when I see them. Maybe with McFarlane, the 50% that's an a hole is just because he's a New Englander. Welcome back, Ricky. Oh, Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew. Loved that comic. What a great spoof comic. Oh, sorry, Gaz. Don't mean it like that. Hey, maybe he is Canadian. Hey, aren't Canadians supposed to be super nice, though? You know what's super sad about Captain Carrot was how they ended that comic. I think it was right at the dawn of the new 52 when they were getting rid of a lot of things, and they had Captain Carrot and his crew embark to Earth on a spaceship. And when they landed on Earth, they were just normal animals. Dude, that was one of the saddest things I read because it was like essentially killing my childhood right in front of me. So, just as a 20-minute warning, everybody, I'll probably have to step away and shut down the live stream at midnight. So, I hope that's cool with everybody. Um, this has been a lot of fun, but we still got 20 more minutes to have some discussions and let's have some fun. Okay, a Canadian. So he shouldn't be an a-hole at all. You're so super polite. Who would you consider is your favorite comic book artist? The first name that pops into my mind, Art Adams. There's just something about his style that with the simplicity of it, just the characters pop. I just love it. Ever since, oh geez, probably the Asgardian Wars from X-Men, I've just been a fan. And of course all the Godzilla comics that he did. Yeah, but definitely Art Adams, Stan Sakai, Eastman and Laird back in the day. Yes, Norm Brayfogel's Batman. That and the oh boy, I can't think of people's names tonight. Yes, we'll just leave it at that. Norm Brayfogel's Batman. Like, what were some of the good ones? Um, the Cult. I think he did. That was great. And his stuff on the what was it? Tales of the Dark Knight or whatever that he was doing. Of course, Frank Miller. I love his art. Ah, Gaz, three good ones. There's just been some amazing talent coming out of comic books recently. Not recently, but over the years that I've been reading. And it really I have to take a step back when I pick up a new comic and it doesn't look good. I mean, there's some that look very rushed. It might just be the style, but some of that rushed stuff reminds me of like some of the more obscure and underground comics from the 80s. And it's just really, I have to take a step back when I see a big publisher like Marvel or DC with that kind of art nowadays. Ah, Frazetta. I have a great story about Frazetta. I actually got to meet him one time at his house. Yes, Stan Sakai does the lettering for Gru the Wanderer, which I always thought was cool. So honestly, he's worked for Marvel for a time. Simon Beasley, another great artist. Yes, but Frank Frazetta, me and a bunch of friends, Chris included, went up to his museum in, it's not Strasbourg, but somewhere up here in PA in the mountains. Long drive. Went to his museum, looked at all the beautiful artwork, met his wife, who was the curator of the museum, and we were there hours. And out of nowhere, she says, "Hey, would you boys like to meet Frank?" Yeah, of course. So she walked us over to the house. And when we first walked in, we interrupted him shaving because he wanted to look presentable to us. And we got to sit there in his room where right there's an easel that he's painting. And there's a Super Nintendo right there hooked up to his TV. It, I mean, that's a once in a lifetime experience. And one of the highlights of my life was meeting him. I mean, he died shortly after that. And I mean, it was after he had the stroke, and you couldn't tell. I mean, he still seemed like a great and virile dude, but his house was covered in all these pictures with him with celebrities, with Clint Eastwood and not Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I remember commenting, I'm like, wow, that's you with Clint Eastwood. And he's like, yeah, but I'm the handsome one. It was great. I have to look that up if Frazetta painted a Sasquatch early on. That would be awesome print to get. Oh, excuse me. Glasses are getting dirty. Yeah, I got a lot of his art books. I'll have to flip through them and see if there's a Sasquatch. It sounds familiar. I know he did um I think it was Morlock art where they're like running all shaggy and stuff. That kind of looks like a Sasquatch. Yeah, but meeting Frazetta, that was awesome. It's on tape. Chris has the tape. I keep asking him to get a copy of it to me. Oh, sorry about that. But I was thinking of that like Morlock artwork when you said that, or just a beast person from one of the Conan books, one of the Pictish warriors or whatever. That's okay. Let your private spill. I mean, your private jokes spill all over. Oh, Alex Ross. You know what's great about Alex Ross is that he's a fan. On top of everything, the beautiful artwork, the recognition, he's still a comic fan. If you get a chance, look up on YouTube a tour of his house. I think it was like 60 minutes or something did. That is eye-opening what endless money can buy you if you're a comic book fan. You know it's great, Ricky? You know that picture that he started painting in the Painting with Fire where it's like a girl with the panthers that he was doing with his left hand? That's the painting that was on the easel when we were in his studio. Thanks, Frag, for stopping by. It was great talking to you. And hopefully, we'll see you next month when we do this again. Excuse me. Sorry, I thought I just heard something. Nothing spooky, just children about, maybe. But I doubt it. Probably the cats running around upstairs. Well, we're going to be finishing up in about 10 minutes. Oh, do I have a favorite band of all time? Now, that's something that I can't answer because music to me, I love so many different styles. Um, and different eras of my life, I have favorite bands. I mean, definitely when I was in high school, it was like Nine Inch Nails. Now, oh boy, now it's kind of hard. I just put on a streaming station and just either it be 80s or metal or 80s metal or uh, screamo or anything like that, and I just listen to it. It's kind of hard nowadays because I'm not rushing out to buy CDs and stuff like I was. So it's kind of a hard question for me to answer, but I'm mostly a heavy metal, screaming type of music lover. Um, I'll sit there and listen to 80s music all day long. Yes, and meeting him at his house and in such an intimate way. I mean, he was just wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, and like I said, he was shaving when we came in, and it's like, "Oh, just give me a minute, guys." I mean, there's no yeah, it it, it actually makes me speechless thinking about it now. You should try to make this a week leaves. The Wiggles. Yeah, good one, Slim. Yeah, I mentioned Kong Skyline. What are my thoughts on Peter Jackson's King Kong? I loved it. Um, it it definitely is an experience that you live because of everywhere he takes you in that movie. And I don't think I cried more at an ending of a movie than at the end of that one. because he presented Kong in such a beautiful way. Of course, all the action on Skull Island and how gory like the bug scene was. Yeah, I view that movie as an experience because it takes you to so many different places. I loved it. I'm kind of digging Nightwish in that style right now. Nightwish, is that a band? What kind of style is it? Maybe I'll check it out. Vance, you hated it? Oh, what's there to hate about it? Okay, action figure expert. Okay, answer this then. If you had only five, what, five bands to choose from? What to like listen to on a desert island? Um, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Slipknot, um, Nine Inch Nails, Bullet for My Valentine, Led Zeppelin. I'll check them out then. Symphonic metal, very good. I'll check them out when this is over. I'll look it up on YouTube. Use it, listen to that while I'm doing the laundry. Because yes, this is a functioning laundry room. It's just not a name. This is my side of it, and over there is the washer and dryer and all that good stuff. Oh, sorry, I did not say Alice Cooper, but I would say Alice in Chains. Now, my love of Alice Cooper is definitely his stuff from the 70s. Um, his metal from the 80s was pretty good, but the arrangement and how deep some of the songs were from the 70s, I love. Iron Maiden, definitely a great band. I mean, I love all the classics: Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Metallica, Megadeth. Which I have to say, if given the gun to the head decision, I'd have to say I like Megadeth more than Metallica, which I'm sure is blasphemous to a lot of people. Excuse me. Usually when I'm filming, I get breaks to drink and rest my voice. So this has been 2 hours of continuous talking. Yes, I do get the good side. Judas Priest. I definitely dig them. I definitely respect them. Um, I can't say that I love a whole album, but I definitely love a good chunk of their songs. And that's one of those bands, looking back at like Judas Priest, where they fell under the whole satanic subliminal message thing. But when you really listen to a lot of their songs, they're not dark. They're about having fun. And yes, a a thumb to the nose to authority and stuff, but there are a lot darker bands, I guess, that weren't as popular, so they didn't get drug into it. But I never saw Judas Priest as this evil band. Yes, they're wearing leather and spikes and stuff, but I mean, if you listen to a lot of their songs, it's about having fun and you know, I'm sorry, am I losing people with these confessions, like of liking Megadeth over Metallica? That's just my personal thought. I think Megadeth just has a different approach to metal than Metallica does. I think Metallica might be more artistic, but I just really dig Megadeth's Dave Mustaine's guitar work. Just has a different sound to it that just appeals to my ear a little bit more. That's all, just personal preference. I'm not dissing anybody here. Check out Leapfrog Productions channel. Guy does metal covers of everything, and I mean everything. Yeah, I've seen some different channels with that, but I'll definitely check that one out. Frog Leap Studio. Yes, I have seen that. Like he'll do like I think he even did like worked with somebody to do like a hillbilly version of some Slipknot songs and stuff. Like where they're actually playing on fiddles and everything. No, Megadeth didn't sell out, but I bet if given the opportunity, they could have or would have. Well, folks, it's midnight here. I'm going to end it here. I've had so much fun. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Thank you for watching weekly. It means so much to me. So I'm sorry to cut this short on you, but thank you very much. Now it's time to go back to domesticated life and work around the house. So until next time, keep being rad and stay dorky. Thank you all so much. Good night.